Worldview. Okay, so this is the Wikipedia founder embraces Christianity, Larry Sanger's testimony highlights, and I'm going to kind of interact with his testimony and also what Trevin Wax put down here too. So one of the things that I read in his testimony was this, and it stood out to me. So this is a quote from his testimony. Like I said, he kind of like wrote a book for us to read. But here it says, at some point in my late teens, I remember calling up a pastor, I forget which, to ask skeptical questions. It felt bold for a teenager to do, but I was not merely being rebellious. I really needed help thinking these things through. But the pastor had no clear or strong answers. He seemed to be brushing me off and even to treat me with contempt. It seemed to me he did not care, and if anything, I had the impression that he felt threatened by me. This was a surprise. The damage was quickly done. Being met with hostile unconcern by a person I expected to be, well, pastoral, confirmed me in my disbelief. So he's basically saying, like, when he was younger, he would ask questions, but the pastor would, like, dismiss him. And so for me, I'm thinking, like, okay, that's something that I need to remember as a Sunday school teacher, because you guys are in that stage, right, where you're young, and you probably have a lot of questions about Christianity. And so I don't want to be dismissive about any questions that you guys have. If me and Tiff have done that to you, then I apologize. We don't want to be that way. So ask us anything is one of the ways you can do it, and I will fix the form. But in other ways, you can just ask us in person or ask questions in class, and I don't want to have that attitude where we're dismissive. I think that high school, college is very formative years, and we shouldn't be thinking that the Bible does not have answers for us. It does. So that was one of the things. I'm resolved to answer more questions from you guys. Here's another one. It says, the new atheism became, if anything, even more obnoxious. So for a while, he was being part of this atheism thing, okay? And so he's talking about like how he kind of moved from that to Christianity. If anything, even more obnoxious, to the point where I was asking myself if I had ever been like that. I really was anyway. I had too much respect for Christian family and friends. Similarly, I observed Christians on social media often, though not always, behaving with maturity and grace, while their critics often acted like obnoxious trolls. Some of my favorite people were Christian too, and some of them were extremely intelligent. Strange. Okay, so he's talking about how like when he was an atheist, he would have atheist friends, and they would not like be cool with people. But Christians, he saw, were more kind. Now for me, this impacted me because sometimes I'm a little jaded by Christians in general and just being Christian for a long time. And sometimes because I believe in God's sovereignty over salvation, I tend to think like, okay, well, yes, people will behave a certain way, but God will save whoever he wants. But I sometimes forget like, oh, well, we are still called to be salt and light. And the way that we behave in the world does affect people. And so for me, I'm like, okay, no, I actually need to remember that like how I act in the world actually matters. Like it does impact the way people perceive Christians and if they'll be like drawn to Christianity. Of course, we believe that God calls people to himself, but like we all have a part to play in that. And so this kind of like confirmed in me that like, oh, okay, I need to watch my behavior. So I am resolved to witness well in the world, remembering that like, hey, like people are actually watching. Okay, this is the last one. When I really sought to understand it, I found the Bible far more interesting and, to my shock and consternation, coherent than I was expecting. I looked up answers to all my critical questions, thinking that perhaps others had not thought of issues I saw. I was wrong. Not only had they thought of all the issues and more that I had not thought of, they had well worked out positions about them. I did not believe their answers, which sometimes struck me as contrived or unlikely, but often they were shockingly plausible. The Bible could sustain interrogation. Who knew? It slowly dawned on me that I was acquainting myself with the 2,000-year-old tradition of theology. And so here, so you have this really smart dude, right? And he did not understand that like the Bible, we believe, is living and active. And you can actually like try to ask the Bible questions, and the Bible will give you answers if you truly study it. And so I think that, yeah, he put in the work to do it, and he found that, like, yeah, it was inscrutable. And so for me, I'm thinking, like, okay, the Bible does the work of changing people. And here in Sunday school, like, we sometimes, I sometimes think that, okay, like, it's just like what we do here. But it's actually really important that you guys learn how to read the Bible and know that, like, yeah, it does it is foundational for our faith. And if you do not understand it or you are unable to read it, then your faith is not going to be strong. And so I'm resolved to preach and teach the Bible because that's what we're about. And that's what changes people, obviously. So yeah, I don't know. I was struck by his testimony. I was moved by it because, I don't think we hear too many testimonies like this where it's like so dramatic and also high profile. I'm not like into celebrity conversions really because, you don't really know these people. But because he was so articulate about his testimony and he basically like, wrote a book on it, I was like, okay, cool. I can like understand him a little bit better. So yeah, that's our Christian worldview topic for today, is that people do become Christians in life and all these things matter. Any questions about that? Okay, so yeah, again, it's Larry Sanger, and he's one of the co-founders of Wikipedia. You can look it up.